Dracula was not a vampire.
He was something worse.
Before Dracula had fangs. Before the cape. Before the castle in the mist. There was a real man. And he didn't need supernatural powers to terrify the world. He ruled with wood, iron, and fear. His name was Vlad the Impaler. And what he did was so brutal that centuries later, the world turned him into a monster. But here's the question. Was he truly evil? Or was he a product of a violent world? The world he was born into. To understand Vlad, you must understand his world. It was 1431. Eastern Europe was unstable, divided, and constantly threatened by the expanding Ottoman Empire. Vlad was born in Transylvania, into a noble family. His father, Vlad II, belonged to a powerful chivalric order known as the Order of the Dragon, created to defend Christianity against Ottoman expansion. The title, Dracula, actually comes from this order. Dracul meant dragon. Dracula meant son of the dragon. Not vampire. Not demon. Dragon. But history would twist that name forever. A childhood of captivity. As a boy, Vlad and his younger brother were taken hostage by the Ottoman Empire. This was common political practice, insurance for loyalty. Imagine growing up surrounded by enemies. Trained in warfare. Raised in fear. Some historians believe this captivity shaped him permanently. When he eventually returned to rule Wallachia, he ruled with one central principle. Control through terror. The strategy that shocked the world. Vlad became known for one method above all. Not simply for its severity, but for its message. Across the landscape outside his capital, tall wooden stakes stood in grim formation. They were not hidden. They were not subtle. They were meant to be seen. This was not random cruelty. It was calculated intimidation. When an invading Ottoman force approached his territory, they were met with a sight so overwhelming that it forced them to pause. A vast field arranged as a warning. A demonstration of what resistance would cost. Some accounts describe it as stretching endlessly across the horizon. Whether the numbers were exaggerated or not, the psychological effect was undeniable. The message was clear. Advance, and face the consequences. Sometimes wars are not decided by swords. Sometimes they are decided by fear. Tyrant or protector. But history is never simple. In parts of Romania today, Vlad is remembered differently. As a defender. As a ruler who punished corruption. As someone who kept order in a chaotic land. He was ruthless toward thieves and traitors. Some stories claim he once left a golden cup in a public square and no one dared steal it. So which is true? Was he a sadistic tyrant? Or a strict leader in a brutal era? Perspective changes everything. The birth of the vampire legend. Fast forward more than 400 years. In 1897, Irish author Bram Stoker publishes a novel called Dracula. Stoker researched Eastern European folklore and history. He discovered the name Dracula. He liked how it sounded. Dark. Ancient. Mysterious. But here's the truth. The fictional Count Dracula, the blood-drinking immortal, was not a biography of Vlad. The vampire mythology came from European folklore. But the name? That came from a real ruler whose reputation was already soaked in fear. Fiction fused with history. And the legend became immortal. Why the myth survived? Why did this story endure? Because fear is powerful. Because violence leaves deep marks on memory. Because humans are fascinated by darkness. And because legends simplify complicated truths. It is easier to call someone a monster than to understand the world that created them. Dracula became a symbol of fear, of foreign threat, of immortality, of forbidden power. But underneath the myth lies something more disturbing. A real human being. The deeper lesson. History often becomes mythology over time. Facts blur. Stories grow. Reputations expand beyond reality. Vlad the Impaler may never have drunk blood. But his cruelty was real enough to echo across centuries. And that tells us something important. The scariest stories are not always invented. Sometimes, they are remembered. If this changed the way you see Dracula, imagine how many other monsters in history have real human origins. Comment below. Hero or monster? And if you enjoy uncovering hidden truths behind famous myths, make sure you subscribe and join this corner of curiosity. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe.